Okay, so getting back into our coverage over Doctor Strange, we do pick up with Doctor Strange number 6. Now, with this book right here, it does remind us what happened in our last video. Now, you have to remember that basically in our last video, we had a Doctor Strange who had no magical powers. And that right there was very huge because he had no idea why he lost his magical powers. And so thanks to Tony Stark, he was sent out into space to hopefully go to different planets to find other magic users or to find other magical artifacts that could help him get his powers back. Now, over that storyline, he did find other magical artifacts and other sorcerers, but of course, his magical powers did not come back until he met a dwarf. And the dwarf said, listen, you are a great magical user. You are a great sorcerer. But here's the thing though. You've been going out there collecting old magical artifacts. Why not make your own magical artifacts? New ones. And so basically Doctor Strange was in a forge and he made a whole brand new armor suit that's full of magic. It also came with a bunch of powerful weapons to kind of help him keep his magical powers up. And that all took place in our last video. And so we pick up with Doctor Strange getting ready to head back to Earth. Now, while he was out in space collecting different magical artifacts and meeting different sorcerers, he did meet a young lady, and that lady's name is Kana. Now, of course, with these two spending months together, and only them two spending months together, these two characters have began the process of falling in love with one another. But either way, it's Doctor Strange saying, okay, it's time for me to go back to Earth, and also I want to show you what Earth is like, and the possibility to show you how amazing Earth is with all our amazing food that we have. And so, of course, you do have Doctor Strange open up a portal to take him and Kana back down to Earth. But here comes the big problem though. Because that is the moment you have Doctor Strange and Kana be confronted by the other Doctor Strange. Because remember, at the end of our last video, we learned that there were two Doctor Stranges. And of course, we only followed one of them. And the one we followed was the one who was out in space collecting different magical artifacts and meeting other magical users, while this other one was on Earth. But of course, the way the last book ended, you are left to believe that the one on Earth was the real one. The one out in space is the fake one. And so, of course, now the big question is, who is the real one? But either way, it does lead into a big battle between both Doctor Stranges. And this battle is pretty interesting because you're talking about having two Doctor Stranges fighting against each other right in the middle of New York. Now, you do have Kana actually choose a side because to her, she's kind of like, I spent a lot of time with this other Doctor Strange. And so right now, I believe he's the real one. The other one is the fake one. But it's the same thing for Bats the Ghost Dog, because when he came home, he found the other Doctor Strange. And so he believes the other one is the real one. Now, of course, this battle doesn't take that long. And the reason why, because the Doctor Strange that we followed in our last video, he tells us that if he was not the real one and the other one was the real one, he would already have lost this battle, meaning that he is a better sorcerer, because the other one was caught off guard by our Doctor Strange to show us that the one we saw at the end of our last video is, of course, the fake one. He is not the real Doctor Strange. But the question is, though, who is this other Doctor Strange? And that is the moment we kind of find out it's a young girl named Casey. And right when she reveals that she is the other Doctor Strange, the one we saw at the end of our last video, you have our Doctor Strange freak out. He's kind of like, Casey, I haven't seen you in so long. What in the world happened to you? Why are you pretending to be me? But before he's able to get any answers, Casey just disappeared just like that. Now, right after Casey leaves, that is the moment you have Doctor Strange tell us or remind us about something else in our last video, that he has forgotten a lot of things, that apparently some of his memory was lost and he has no idea why. And so with that being said, he tells us he remembers Casey, but he doesn't remember everything about her, meaning that he has no idea why in the world she is going around pretending to be him. What in the world did he do to her? And so with that, he's kind of like, I have to call in a favor because I need to know why in the world she's doing this for. Why in the world does she hate me so much? And so, of course, he said that he is going to call a close friend of his, somebody known as Bone Flayer. And I really hope I pronounced that name correctly. Now, Bone Flayer is a type of demon, and Doctor Strange and Bone Flayer, they go way back. But either way, when Doctor Strange uses a spell to summon Bone Flayer, he does not get Bone Flayer. Instead, he gets another demon, and that demon is a close friend of Bone Flayer. But when this demon appears and you have Doctor Strange as this other demon, where in the world is Bone Flayer? You have this other demon tell Doctor Strange that Bone Flayer is dead because of him, because of Doctor Strange. Now that right there is very huge because the Doctor Strange, he's kind of like, what did I do? The last time I checked, Bone Flayer was alive and well. What did I do to get him killed? And that is the moment you have this other demon tell Doctor Strange that he has some kind of orb. But inside that orb holds the memories of Doctor Strange. And because Bone Flayer took the memories out of the head of Doctor Strange and then gave it over to his best friend over here, this other demon, to hold on to just until Doctor Strange was ready to get that memory back. And this leads into a quick rundown on the origin of Casey, because when the demon does give Doctor Strange his memory back, that is the moment you have Doctor Strange tell us who is Casey, because Casey has been around for a good period of time in Marvel Comics. But either way, with this one page, we do get reminded that she was a student of Doctor Strange. That right there is very huge. But then when a bunch of kids were about to lose their soul, she gave up her soul to protect those kids. Now, there was a time she had a chance to get her soul back, but once again, she had to sacrifice her soul to save Doctor Strange. But with her sacrificing her soul to save Doctor Strange, that right there hurt him because that young girl was his student. That young girl was learning from him and he was supposed to protect her. And so with her losing her soul, it changed Doctor Strange completely. It broke him down. And so with Casey losing her soul, it broke Doctor Strange down. And so he crossed over different realms hoping to find her soul, to give her soul back to her. And of course, he was with Bone Flayer. But those two guys ran into a very powerful being. But here's the problem though. Because Doctor Strange was so broken and so upset that his own student gave up their life to save his life, he was not focusing like he should when he ran into a very powerful being. And so you have Bone Flayer say, listen, Casey's loss is hunting you, is hurting you. And so with that being said, let me take her out of your mind. Because if I do that right there, you'll forget her and you'll be able to focus and beat this powerful being. And so you had Doctor Strange agree to do it. He gave all his memories of Casey and some other things as well over to Bone Flayer to beat that demon. And of course, it did work. But here comes the big problem though. That demon wasn't defeated completely. The demon just ran away. But while you had Doctor Strange looking away, Bone Flayer was stabbed in the back by, of course, that powerful demon that was whooping Doctor Strange's butt. But of course, with Bone Flayer's death, he lost the memory of Doctor Strange. And so that is how the memories of Doctor Strange was lost, but given over to this other demon. And so now that explains why in the world Doctor Strange forgot everything about Casey. And so you have Doctor Strange basically tell us why he thinks Casey is acting like this, why she's going out there attacking people. Because to her, she feels like Doctor Strange basically abandoned her because he never came back, because he forgot about her. Now, she has no idea that he had forgotten about her, but to her, it feels like he just gave up and did not try to find her. And so that's why she's going crazy. And so you have Doctor Strange say that he is going to go out there and find her to hopefully stop her. But at the same time, he wants Kana and Bats the Ghost Dog to go find the demon that was holding onto the soul of Casey, to hopefully find a way to release her soul from that demon to finally bring her back. But we have to jump over to Casey because Casey is still going around pretending to be Doctor Strange. And we see her meeting up with Damien Hellstorm. Now, Damien Hellstorm is a very interesting character, but he only appears in this one page and that is it. But basically, he is a very powerful sorcerer slash demon, and he is the son of the Satan. Now, with that being said though, you actually have Casey attack Damien Hellstorm to get a very powerful weapon. And that's her goal right now, to go around collect a lot of powerful magical artifacts to hopefully use against Doctor Strange. And so with her pretending to be him, of course, she was able to trick Damien Hellstorm, get the weapon, and begin the process of getting ready to fight against Doctor Strange. Now, you do have Kana and Bats the Ghost Dog actually go over to the realm that belongs to the creature that was holding on to the soul of Casey to figure out why in the world is he using her soul to get back to Doctor Strange, or why in the world her soul is no longer with him. But when they get to that creature's realm, they come to find out that he is dead. And that right there is huge because Casey was just a person in training, a sorcerer in training. She's not as powerful as her teacher. And so with her soul being taken away by this creature, a creature that is really powerful, there's no way she'll be able to free herself. And so now the question is, who did free her? And how powerful is that person to take down this creature to free Casey, to use Casey as a way to get back to Doctor Strange? That right there is saying this is going to be a very interesting storyline. Now, when we jump into the 7th issue of this run, we actually pick up with Casey once again. Now, you would think that Casey being in Atlantis right now means that we are about to see Namor. And we don't. Because honestly, I'm kind of like, if you're in Atlantis and this is a Doctor Strange book, you gotta bring in Namor. Because Namor and Doctor Strange, they do go way back. Matter of fact, they were both on a team called the Defenders, the first one, not the one Marvel gave us. But either way though, you do have Casey in Atlantis right now, tricking this homeless person, because the homeless person is holding onto a very powerful magical artifact, and she's able to get that artifact away from that homeless person. But that is the moment she is confronted by Doctor Strange. Now, of course, this does lead into another battle, but not really like the first one. What I mean is, Casey knows that she's not able to go toe to toe with Doctor Strange. And so with that, what she does is she basically sets Atlantis on fire, which is very interesting to see. But of course, the flames that she had released cannot be stopped so easily. And so Doctor Strange must use all of his energy to focus on that fire, which of course will give her the chance to run away before he's able to actually capture her and to hopefully stop her for once and for all. But getting back over to Casey and Bats the Ghost Dog, you do have them right now doing some detective work, trying to figure out how in the world Casey got free from that creature, or who freed her in the first place. And so thanks to Kana having another magical artifact that gives her the ability to see what happened before they had arrived, that is the moment she sees that Casey was in a position that there was no way possible that she could have escaped. And so, of course, it means that someone had freed her. And of course, someone did. Now, for Bass, the ghost dog, he has no idea who that person was who freed her. But of course, thanks to Bass, the ghost dog, he tells us whoever it was, they do seem like a very powerful person, which could mean more problems for Doctor Strange down the road. Now, we do have Doctor Strange, Kana, and Bass the Ghost Dog regroup at the home of Doctor Strange to, of course, look over all the clues that could possibly help them figure out who in the world freed Casey. Now, you do have Doctor Strange actually call up other magical users that we have seen in Marvel Comics over the years to see if they have an idea who that person could possibly be. But of course, they have no idea either. Now, on top of that right there, you have Doctor Strange said, listen, Casey is going around collecting magical artifacts. She's building up her own armory. We need our own set of armor, our own set of weapons. And so he tells Kana and Bass the Ghost Dog that they're going to use his forge to create more magical artifacts, to create more magical weapons and armors, to protect them from Casey and her weapons. Now, this is the same forge we saw in our last video that gave Doctor Strange his powers back. And so he's hoping that Kana can basically make something very powerful to give him the edge to stop Casey and all of her weapons all at once. Now, this actually leads into the origin of Kana, because in our last video, we got just a tad bit of information about who she is and where she is from. And so with this section right here, we kind of learn more about her. And basically, she is from a world where magic is number one. And that's different because in other worlds in the Marvel Universe, science is number one. Magic is like number 2, 3, 4 on the top things to use in the world. And so with her world though, magic was number 1. Science was number 2. And matter of fact, science was technically illegal. Meaning that if you are caught using science and not using magic to fix your problems or to make things in the world, you will be basically killed. And so with that being said, her mom was a great scientist. She would make things left and right, and it was amazing to Kana because she believed science and magic can work together as one. But of course, Kana's father betrayed his own wife and told their council that his wife is doing science. And so with that, he had his own wife killed, Kana's mother. And so that right there made her very angry, and she left that world to say, I will come back and show you that science and magic can come together as one to make things better for everybody. But either way, you have Doctor Strange actually leave because he says while Kana is making weapons to help them out, somebody has to be out there to slow down Casey, to keep her from hurting innocent people. And so right now, that is their game plan. Now, of course, this leads into another battle between Doctor Strange and Casey. Now, when they fight against one another, you do have Casey just going all out. She's showing her true colors, expressing her feelings, how she feels that Doctor Strange had abandoned her, had he did not come back and try to save her when her soul was lost by that creature. And so right now it's her just coming back and saying, you left me behind. The real Doctor Strange would not have left me behind, but of course you did. And so I'm trying to give the world what they need, a better Doctor Strange. Now on top of that right there, she does keep yelling the same line over and over again. You have to pay. You have to pay, because when you use magic, there is always a cost, and you have to pay for all the magic that you have used. And so it's her right now just saying over and over again, you have to pay. Now for Doctor Strange, he's kind of like, What do you mean? Listen, besides that, who freed you? Answer both my questions. What do you mean and who freed you? Why in the world would they freed you and use you against me? Like, who is behind all of this? And that is the moment you have Baron, of course, Mordo, appear right behind Doctor Strange, one of the original Doctor Strange villains. He's back once again, and he's here once again to cause a lot of problems for Doctor Strange. Now, if you have no idea who Baron Mordo is, let me explain, because he has been around for so long in Marvel Comics. I mean, he was one of the original villains of Doctor Strange, back when Doctor Strange first appeared in Marvel Comics. But basically, Baron Mordo was a character who came around and being trained under the Ancient One. Now, the Ancient One was originally the greatest sorcerer of all Marvel Comics, and Doctor Strange was being trained by the Ancient One, but Baron Mordo came first. Now, when Baron Mordo got word that the Ancient One had took in another student, and that student was Doctor Strange, Baron Mordo instantly did not like Doctor Strange. Now, Baron Mordo at that point was already going down a dark path. And matter of fact, he found out about Dormammu, a very dark being, a very powerful dark being. And so with that, you had the Ancient One kind of remove Baron Mordo. Well, really, Baron Mordo left the Ancient One, but that left room for Doctor Strange to become the Sorcerer of Supreme very quickly too. Now, of course, these two characters have fought against each other so many times in Marvel Comics, but Baron Mordo was the one who had freed Casey, and the reason why? To teach Doctor Strange a very important lesson, and that lesson, don't be careless, because when it comes to magic, there is always a cost, and so you have Baron Mordo telling Doctor Strange, this is your cost. You have been a careless man. You have been going around using magic so freely that you never thought about the cost. And look, here's your cost. Her. She lost her soul and she was waiting for you and you never came. And so I freed her and I took her rage and turned it into a weapon to basically kill you. This is your cost. Magic always comes with a cost. But then we get over to Kana and Bats the Ghost Dog, because this is going to be another problem for Doctor Strange down the road. What I mean is, while you have Kana in the forge of Doctor Strange making a very powerful weapon, well, multiple powerful weapons, as a way to give them the edge to finally stop Casey, that is the moment you have Bats the Ghost Dog mention the Time Stone. Now remember, the Time Stone did appear in our last video, and Doctor Strange and Kana were able to work together to steal the Time Stone away from the Skrulls. Now here comes the problem though. Doctor Strange felt like Kana could not be responsible enough to keep the secret about the Time Stone being back in the universe. And so he used a magical artifact as a way to make her forget. But with Bats the Ghost Dog bringing it back up, it unlocked those memories. She remembers, and now she is upset with Doctor Strange basically using a magical artifact to make her forget, and it shows her that he doesn't trust her all the way. And honestly, she was hoping he was, or he did, because she was falling in love with him. Now, getting back over to the battle between Doctor Strange and Casey, it does get very intense. And it does seem like maybe, just maybe, Casey is going to be able to actually kill off Doctor Strange. And the reason why I say that, because he's not playing a lot of offense. He's playing a lot of defense. He's trying to protect himself from her, because he knows if he used any kind of magical powers, there is a possibility he could do a lot of harm to her to the point where he could actually kill her. And he does not want to do that. He does not want to kill her. He wants to save her. And so again, he's not playing a lot of offense. He's playing a lot of defense, trying to protect himself from her. And that right there is very huge to say. But of course, where it does seem like she'll be able to actually kill off Doctor Strange, that is the moment you have Kana appear. And Kana does appear with a couple weapons to actually help Doctor Strange fight against Casey. Now, of course, none of these weapons are actually going to be able to stop her. It's just a way for them to kind of go toe to toe with her weapons that she is using. But then you have Doctor Strange realize there is a way to save her. But of course, when he does use that spell, it's going to leave them very open for an attack. They're going to feel exhausted. And so you have Kana and Bats the Ghost Dog say, dude, we have no choice. We have to save her. And so what he did was he took a piece of each of their souls, because he says, listen, she has no soul right now. And so right now, she's just full of rage with no soul as a way to guide her rage. And so let's give her a piece of our souls as a way to kind of guide her rage, to bring her down. And so he does that. And actually, it does work. Now, this begins the process of the story winding down. And honestly, it winds down very quickly. What I mean is, right after Casey is able to calm down, you do have Casey being able to use her magical powers as a way to send Baron Mordo away for now. Because we know that dude will be back sooner or later. He always comes back in Marvel Comics for some crazy plan of his. But either way though, with him gone or while he was leaving, he does tell Doctor Strange that he was not the one in charge. There's someone else, someone more powerful who is in charge of this whole operation. But with Baron Mordo gone, you do have Casey tell Doctor Strange that right now, she is going to leave to go find her soul, because she says she can feel her soul calling out for her and she needs to go find it. And so this is a way for Marvel to put both Baron Mordo and Doctor Strange, Baron Mordo and Casey on the back burner. And of course, these characters will be used again in later stories. But to wrap up this video, you have Doctor Strange, Bats the Ghost Dog, and also Kana go back to the home of Doctor Strange. Now when they get there, this is Doctor Strange thinking that everything is okay between him and Kana, because he also has feelings for Kana. He's hoping that she'll stay with him on Earth, and they can begin the process of actually forming a relationship. But that is the moment she tells him that she remembers. She remembers the time stone, and she is very upset with the idea that he did use a magical artifact to make her forget, because now she feels like he does not trust her. Even though he says, listen, the reason why I did that was to protect you, because if other people out in the universe knows that you know where the time stone is at, it could actually get you killed. And so that's why I made you forget. But this is Kana saying, no, be for real. You made me forget because you do not trust me. You don't have faith in me. And that is your biggest problem. And so she walks away. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.